When it comes to diesel engines, toughness is part of their DNA. These machines are designed to haul heavy loads, conquer brutal terrain, and run for hundreds of thousands of miles. Whether it's under the hood of a heavy-duty pickup, powering a long-haul rig, or driving farm equipment through punishing cycles, the diesel engine is built to be a workhorse. But here's the ugly truth most diesel owners don't realize. The very thing that makes these engines powerful can also lead to their premature death. According to him, there's one silent killer that ruins more diesel engines than anything else. It's not always immediate, and it's not always obvious, but over time, it can destroy your engine from the inside out. What is it? It's carbon buildup, and its companion, poor maintenance habits, the slow death inside your cylinders. To understand the threat, you have to know how a diesel engine operates. Unlike gasoline engines, which rely on spark ignition, diesel engines compress air to incredibly high pressures, causing the injected diesel fuel to ignite spontaneously from heat. This process creates immense torque and efficiency, but it also produces a side effect: soot. This soot is made of microscopic carbon particles that don't always get flushed out of the system. In small amounts, it's not a problem, but over time it builds up on valves, inside the EGR system, in the turbocharger, around piston rings, and even in the intake manifold. As it collects, it begins to choke the engine, reducing airflow, increasing pressure, and ultimately creating a vicious cycle of inefficiency and heat. As a master tech put it, people think their diesel is bulletproof just because it's big and loud, but carbon is like cholesterol in your arteries. It clogs everything, and one day it just fails. The number one culprit: EGR exhaust gas recirculation. Most modern diesel engines are equipped with an EGR system to reduce emissions. This system works by recirculating a portion of the exhaust gases back into the intake, lowering combustion temperatures and reducing harmful NOx emissions. On paper, it's a great idea, but in reality, it's a nightmare for long-term engine health. Reintroducing exhaust gas means reintroducing soot and carbon into the intake system. Over time, thick, sticky carbon deposits build up in the intake manifold, around the valves, and inside the EGR valve itself. Eventually, airflow is restricted, and the engine starts running rich, dirty, and hot. The tech didn't mince words. I've seen EGR valves so caked with carbon that they look like they've been dipped in tar. I'm talking about engines with just 80,000 miles on them that already needed full top-end cleanouts. And it's not cheap. The turbo takes a hit. Once carbon has infiltrated the intake and EGR systems, the next vital component to suffer is your turbocharger, arguably one of the most complex and crucial parts of a modern diesel engine. Designed to compress air and force it into the combustion chamber, the turbo is what gives diesel engines their unmistakable low-end torque and heavy-duty towing capability. It's not just a performance booster. It's the heart of a diesel's work ethic. But this mechanical marvel is also extremely sensitive to contaminants, and it doesn't take much to throw it completely off balance. As carbon deposits begin to coat the intricate internal components of the turbo, particularly the turbine blades and variable geometry vanes, a chain reaction of problems begins. The buildup causes uneven airflow, restricting the amount of clean, compressed air entering the engine. Over time, this leads to boost pressure fluctuations, turbo lag, and inconsistent performance under load. The vanes may stick or fail to adjust properly, robbing your truck of power right when you need it most. Whether you're pulling a trailer up a steep grade or overtaking on a highway, it's not just about power loss, the master tech explained. Once carbon builds up in the turbo, you're on borrowed time. First, you lose performance. Then the bearings start to suffer. Eventually, the whole system can seize. And that's when the real damage begins. A seized turbocharger doesn't just stop working. It can cause catastrophic engine damage. If the turbine locks up at high RPMs, it can result in extreme pressure imbalances that lead to oil starvation, bearing failure, and even shaft breakage. Worse still, broken turbo blades or metal shrapnel can get sucked into the engine's intake manifold, damaging pistons, valves, and cylinder walls in the blink of an eye. Let that sink in. One contaminated turbo can end up taking your entire engine down with it. And if you think this is a quick fix, think again. On most modern diesel trucks, especially models with variable geometry turbos, VGDs, Replacement is neither easy nor cheap. Depending on your make and model, the labor-intensive job of removing and installing a new turbo can cost anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000, and that's assuming no further damage has occurred. If metal fragments have entered the combustion chamber or oil system, you could be facing a complete engine rebuild or a full long block replacement, easily pushing repair costs into five-figure territory. That's why preventative care is critical. Left unchecked, a little carbon becomes a costly avalanche. And in the case of your turbo, that snowball effect can take out the very core of your engine's performance. Oil, the lifeblood that turns to sludge. Now, let's talk about engine oil, arguably the most abused part of a diesel engine. Diesel oil not only lubricates, but also acts as a cleaning agent that suspends contaminants like soot, fuel residue, and combustion byproducts. But if you stretch your oil changes beyond what's recommended, or worse, use the wrong grade, the oil quickly turns into a thick, gritty sludge. The tech warned. I've seen engines with oil so thick you could scoop it out like peanut butter. You think that's still protecting your bearings? Not a chance. Poor oil quality and extended intervals accelerate wear on camshafts, lifters, bearings, and turbo components. And once metal-on-metal contact starts, it's game over. Your diesel might still run, but you're hearing the death rattle every time you turn the key. The DPF domino effect. Modern diesels also include a diesel particulate filter, another emissions device meant to trap soot before it exits the tailpipe. The DPF periodically burns off the collected soot through a process called regeneration, but this cycle depends heavily on proper engine function. If carbon buildup causes poor combustion or incomplete fuel burn, the DPF gets overwhelmed. It clogs faster, regenerates more often, and raises exhaust temperatures dangerously high. Once your DPF starts regenerating every 100 miles, you know something upstream is broken. Usually it's excessive soot from bad injectors, worn rings, or carbon-choked intakes. The tech said, ignore it, and you'll melt that filter, and maybe even your turbo. The human factor, bad habits that speed it up. Carbon doesn't build up overnight. It accumulates due to bad habits, and the most common one is short driving cycles. Diesels need to get hot to burn clean. That means frequent short trips, like 10-minute grocery runs, are terrible for them. The engine doesn't reach optimal temperature, soot doesn't burn off, and carbon builds faster than it can be expelled. Other bad habits include ignoring glow plug issues, running on cheap fuel, tuning the engine improperly, letting the truck idle excessively. According to our expert, it's like smoking a pack a day and never going to the doctor. You won't see it right away, but give it a few years, your engine's lungs are going to give out. Can this engine killer be prevented? Absolutely, but it requires diligence. The most important step is routine maintenance. That includes oil changes every 5,000 to 7,000 miles, even sooner if towing, using high-quality synthetic diesel oil, and sticking to OEM fuel and air filters, and eventually chokes the life out of your engine. So if you want your diesel to live long and perform strong, treat it with the respect it deserves. Know the threats. Stay on top of maintenance. And remember, carbon is the killer you never see coming. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts.